Hello and welcome again to another session of the Mastermind Book Club. I am CEO David Diaz, and to my left, Charles Culmer. And today we are summarizing a very important audio done of an interview on the Diary of CEO, Secret Service Agent, how to stay in control when someone is trying to manipulate you. I'd like to ask Charles Culmer to give his first impressions on this audio. Charles, are you ready?
Yes. Thank you, David, and welcome to another edition of the Mastermind Book Club. Having difficult conversations. Well, first things when you think about this, that and having a difficult conversation is best just to put it out there. As far as the interview was saying, it gave an illustration of plan. Plan means purpose. The L means listen. The A means ask questions. The N means next. And in conflict resolution, it's best to use the L, just to really listen and pay attention to the other person. Don't tell them that you understand, but, give pertinent questions, give pertinent feedback to really see where that person is coming from. And it also talks about having conversations where you use your leadership skills and where you kind of taking the person to the place where you both want to go. You're not manipulating the person. And it was one good thing they said. It says if you make a mistake, it's it's an experience. But if you do if you make a decision and it's wrong, it's experience. If you make a decision and it's right, then it's confirmation. So it's all about making the right decisions too that they talk about, being sincere, uh, kind of like stepping into the other person's shoes, really getting a forewith of what they're really trying to say to you. It's always better to listen. God gave us two ears and one mouth. So I'm gonna end with that. I can't hear you, David. You're muted.
Charles, thank you. And the truth is that most of the time we don't listen. And I was listening as you were talking that the majority of us just want to talk. Doesn't matter what the other person wants to say. We want to talk. And that is where the error of communication relies in relationships, whether it business or at home life, is the communication gap. Listening is very important. Women want to be listened, want to be heard, and we don't, as men, we don't listen enough. And that is an inconvenience that is pointed out by Desmond Oneill in this audio that is very important. But the reality is that Desmond has a background of being an authoritative figure on different levels. And I really liked his approach. And before I go into his approach, I always like to ask my fellow mastermind, because sometimes want to give them a chance to respond before I go ahead and respond. Charles, is there anything that stood out to you in reference to this talk?
Yes, he talks about something about empathetic, I believe it's accuracy. Having empathy with the person, where I guess you're putting yourself in their shoes and you're kind of understanding where they're coming from or where they are, and not really being judgmental. Uh, a lot of times in conflict resolution, the person could call you a name, or they could really do something to, I guess, throw you off the track. But being like you're about to talk about, being that he's a law enforcement officer, an interrogator, and so forth, he says not to let that stress you, to let it get personal, but to keep, the purpose, the listening, the asking questions, and the next, which is, seeking for the resolution. In other words, allowing the person to really come back and stay on point and get their point across while you ask pertinent questions see where you're going to take the conversation to the next place, and just having a general purpose of why we're talking. Like we're talking to actually get our fellow listeners to really understand the importance to me of listening.
So, in essence, we all have a story to say. I mean,
Yes.
that's the truth. But when it comes to policing in general, police want to know what the story is. And some do an excellent job. Some do an excellent job. It depends on the leader that teaches the pupil. I mean, that's what it comes down to. It's not just about the pupil, but it depends on the leader that passes down the knowledge needed to be able to get the information that's needed to resolve a case, to resolve a crime, to whatever it is. But in our general purpose, it's more for communication as an employee, as a business owner, in a relationship with kids, with people that you meet on a day-to-day basis. Sometimes we just flip the switch and we go on a tangent. I mean, I did it today and I'm like, man, why did I say all of that? And, it just build up. And we need to learn how to control that. As I was telling Charles, and you that are listening here, one of the things that stood out to me when Desmond Oneill was a police officer was he stopped a car that that sped up through a stoplight. And when he stopped them, he noticed that it was a 16-year-old boy and that he was drunk, and that the person to his right in the front seat, the passenger, was sleeping. So he thought to himself, should I process him, take him to jail, or should I call his parents? Now, there's no perfect answer. There are authoritative figures that are just going to say, put him in jail, and that'll teach him a lesson. But is it always that necessary? We don't know. Sometimes you got to take a chance on making decisions while others are afraid to make a decision. Just make a decision. Make the decision that's right for you. And in this case, Desmond Oneill represents a parent that has had to deal with a drunken teenager, and instead of getting a fine or going to jail, he gets a chance to make it correct the next time around. That to me is priceless. It is a way of grabbing my attention in respecting this officer. What do you think, Charles, on this? What I'm saying here?
Yeah, in my first commentary, that's what I was alluding to when I was talking about decisions, that uh, if you make the right decision, then it's confirmation. If you make the wrong decision, then it's experiment. It's experience. And in that case, the I guess the opposite side would be that I think his wife or someone, his partner, they said that he should have called the police. He should have took him in. He should have taken him to, got him fingerprinted and got a record and a fine and all that good stuff, because you don't know if you calling his dad, would the dad give suitable punishment? You don't know if the kid will be out the next week doing the same thing. So in that case, Officer O'Neill was dependent on the parent to give out the justice rather than him, which, was a great break for that kid driving drunk. So you pray that he learned his lesson and he would never do it again. However, the contrary is that if he had a record, if he went to jail, got fingerprinted, and had to pay a fine and do community service or jail time, he definitely would have thought twice before doing it again, is what the partner or his wife was saying.
Thank you, Charles. Charles, one question to end this recording on a shorter notice. Is there any way you'll implement any part of this audio in your life?
I think I've been doing it pretty much, especially with the conflict resolution, working in, uh, mental health and drug addiction. You meet a lot of people who don't want to listen to what you have to say. They already have preconceived notions that they want to continue to get high, and you're really fighting sometimes an upward battle with a person who just doesn't care what you have to say. So you have to, like they talk about, you have to have a purpose. You have to listen and try to get to the root cause of really why they're getting high, or what's really bothering them. And you have to ask the pertinent right questions. You know, how do you see yourself 5 years from now? Do you ever see yourself being clean? And then if they come around, you have to have a what next, a plan, a resolution. Can we get you to rehab? Can we, get you to take some type of medications? And all this starts with, I guess, putting out the appropriate questions and really, like you said, having that empathetic accuracy, knowing where people are at that place and time. But what it also taught me on the flip side is if you're ever, uh, I guess, like interrogated by an authority figure, and they have you for some type of crime, or you have to do something, you say lawyer. You say lawyer because a lot of these guys are really adept at getting out of you what they want, or getting you maybe to trip up and say the wrong thing. So if you ever get in trouble, lawyer. That was in
Mhm.
the back of my mind the whole
Well,
interview.
we all have I guess, a preconception on how to handle these types of situation, but it doesn't hurt to learn more, to practice, to be ready for the next time that an authoritative figure stops you and to interrogate you to find out whatever it is. And no, don't be afraid to stay quiet. Don't be afraid to do research, because research might take those in the hot seat more time. And sometimes time is not what they have on their side in their favor. And what I take from this book more than anything is that there are good people out there, authoritative figures or not. There are people who truly want to help you. They don't just want to make your life worse. And what do we gain from going on in life thinking that everyone's out there to get you in a negative way? What do you gain? So I'll leave it at that. Thank you, Charles Culmer, for joining me on this edition. And until next week, we will review another empowering book. Take care.